100%. And don't be concerned about when we have to set boundaries as well. We talk about listening to ourselves and sitting down. Like Kay's back was like, you're gonna be down for 4 days.
Yeah.
You need it, you know, and like me, whatever was going on, it's like, yeah, you're just gonna sit down today. But boundaries are important too. And they're a protection, and they're a protection for our heart and for our emotions.
Yeah.
And people think of them as a rejection, but it's not. Client that I'm currently working with, that's one of the things is like the setting those boundaries with adult children and things like that. They can have opinions, but in the end, this is your life. And so we need to sit down and let's come to this agreement. I even recommend maybe you even want to write it down like a contract. This is what we're
Maybe.
doing. And then, if that contract's broken, then we come back to the table and say, hey, remember this is what we put in our agreement. And it could even be made like a fun thing to not have it be, so serious, but still stick to that. Every time like you say no to what drains you, I feel you're saying yes to your heart.
To you. Yeah. I'm curious, Kay, since we were
Absolutely.
talking about like connecting the meaning of your pain to your heart, like what is your heart interpreting that pain to be? Did you ever conclude that
My
that
back.
pain represented? Yeah.
Yeah. So the back pain was a lot of frustration and my need to control situations that are just not in control.
Darn it.
So learning how to let go and be in the flow of it. And I also recognized I was so focused on the problems and what was occurring from the problems that I was just ignoring everything that I needed to be grateful about and everything that was working. And I know this from bitter experience. When I'm only focused on the problem, I don't leave room for the solution. So
Say that.
I'm telling you, my best outcomes always come from the question that I ask myself, how can I make this work? And just get focused on the myriad billions of ways that I can get from point A to point B because they're infinite. And if one doesn't work, next, until I find the thing that does. And I forget that from time to time, as we all do. So once that 4 days was beneficial, I had to let Brad get out here and do the heavy lifting and be okay with it.
Yeah.
I just had to be okay with it.
Relinquish some of that.
Yes.
And breathe through it.
Yeah.
And breathe through it and honor that your body can only do so much.
Yeah, and that brings me back to something that I wanted to point out is that support systems are vitally important to all of us.
Yeah.
We all need support in various forms, from our girlfriends to our spouses to the workplace. We all need support because no one gets anywhere by themselves.
Yeah.
And I know for me, and I've heard it from others, well, it's just easier if I do it myself. I just don't have time to explain it all. I just do it. And then I do. And well, that's that need for control, right?
Yeah.
And they may not do it exactly the way I would do it, but it got done.
Right.
Yeah.
So letting go and delegating and relying on my support system is very important for my physical health, my emotional health, my overall well-being.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to have to do that in my former life in HR with my staff. At first, it wasn't that I didn't feel that they were not capable or incompetent and couldn't do something. It just seemed easier. Like with anything else in my life, just do it myself. I just do it myself. And then it got to the point where, my boss at the time, when we had a good relationship, used to point out, you start delegating some of this stuff. And I'm like, I know. So I finally started slowly doing that. And it gave me a lot of free time. I mean, all I did was fill it with something else, but still, that was a mistake. But we live and learn. But it did free it up and it made it that much easier. So that way, when these same, like repetitive situations were coming in, especially like day to day interactions when it came to employee relations and things like that, I was so over it and got burned out from it because I had technically three jobs in one because of the size of our department. So it's like I have too much to do over here. I can't continue to be bogged down by this because it was driving me nuts. And so I was able to start delegating that out to someone else. And that kind of became their role, was to handle those situations, and that was day to day. And then I only had to get involved if it had to escalate to me. Same in our personal lives. I don't have anybody in the house with me to delegate some things because I would be doing it, but I'm used to everything myself. I've lived alone, without anyone in my home until my mom 4 months ago for over years, whenever my son got out of high school and went to college. So that was 2007. So it's been 19 years. I've not had anyone in the home with me all the time. So I've always had to do things. And that's hard for someone like me to let things go because I'm used to like having to be the one to do it all the time.
Yeah. Well, that's how society conditioned us, right? Like they have raised us to be all the things for everybody, raised us to be leaders, raised us to be mothers, raised us to be the doers. We are the doers of everything. How I contend with that within myself is doing inner child work. And I sit alongside that young girl in me that believed I had to be all these things. And for the past year, I have deconstructed majority of those ideologies that I carried because they're not serving me physically and how I want to move forward in this new path in my life, especially at my age. And so I would sit there and just like Kay would ask, talk to herself, like, how can I make this happen? I would say, why do you feel that way? Like, where is that story originating from that you believe you have to do things a certain way? And I would sit there with myself until it would bubble up. And when I talk bubble up, I'm like, booger's not crying because I'm like, oh my gosh, we don't have to do that anymore. That's not true. Like, I grew up in a very hostile household. So there is no punishment, right? There is no standing in a corner and getting disciplined if you don't do the things. Like you can actually rest now. And so I wrestled with that for this past year, even, after I wrote my book, and I still wrestle with that in many ways because it's like I want to go back to the way I used to work, but I'm not working anymore, so I don't have to. And so I juggle that daily. Like I ask me, why do I feel this way? Not how can I do more? How can I be more? It's like, why do you feel that you believe that? Where did that come from?
That's a good point. That's
and a lot of it, I did too, especially transferring from owning a health food store for 10 years, having a regimented schedule, things that I did, to becoming an artist full time, where my schedule truly is my own. We may have deadlines, but we may not start work till noon. And like last night, work until midnight, and those feelings is what I'm getting back to. I got bogged down in it. It's like, I'm not doing enough. What should I be doing? I need to be, and I realized that in my former life, up until I turned 50, I was doing those things partly for myself, but mainly for other people, to meet other people's expectations of what they wanted from me or the goals that they wanted to meet. And for the first time, I'm doing everything just for me.
Yeah.
Now, it took me till
that's freeing.
language.
Up. I mean, look behind you, that beautiful mural is coming to life, and that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
So, ladies, we are getting to the end of our series here on the heart. This episode on the heart in our Women's Health series. Anything that you want to share or final comments or anything to those that are watching?
Well, you know me, I always have a song association, so I love me some Alicia Keys, and her song "Listen to Your Heart" is a beautiful song. But that concept, right? What does it mean to listen to your heart? What does that even look like? What does that sound like? What does that feel like? I challenge everyone to explore that. You will be pleasantly surprised in what you learn about yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And don't get caught up in the woulds, shoulds part of it. The would have, should have thing.
Yeah.
All you have, honestly, is today. That's it.
Yeah.
This moment, today. Live it like you were dying, because you may not have tomorrow. This
that says that, and I like
that part.
It's a guy. I don't know who it is, but I like that song. Yes, love it, love it. So I just want to say to those that are watching, I want you to begin seeing yourself differently, and not as someone that's carrying everything, and not as someone who has to earn rest, because we talked a lot about rest. I want you to see yourself as a woman whose well-being is non-negotiable. And because your heart deserves rest, your heart deserves peace, your heart deserves joy, safety, and most importantly, your attention. So on that note, if there's one thing I want anyone that's watching to take from this conversation, it's that your heart's speaking to you all the time, through your emotions, through your energy, through your body. Question is, are you listening? And because healing doesn't start when everything falls apart, that's what we feel like. Something has to happen, and then, now we want to get healed. It starts with the moment that you choose yourself. There doesn't have to be anything going on wrong or anything falling apart. Just start to choose yourself. And when you start to choose yourself, that's one of the most powerful acts of heart health. To me, there is.
Yeah.
So we are going to wrap up our heart health. Join us for our next episode. Danielle with Bahati and Kay on the She Ascends Circle Lounge. Tell your friends, tell your girlfriend, tell your mama, tell your daddy, tell everybody to join, because we are diving into the conversations that need to be had. And as I always like to say, whatever feels good to your soul, do that. See you next time.